Heyo, it's your boy Steven, aka the Visualizer, back with another video in my journey series. Thanks for checking me out. This is episode 13, and the topic is going to be on Lightworkers. So in my previous video, I talked about kind of how I was guided and pushed to find mentorship and fellowship in a lot of the things that I was learning. Did that, and out of that came a discovery in December of last year, 2023, where I was still really struggling looking for purpose. I'd learned all this stuff and I was like, well, how do I apply it? What am I really meant to do here? I was still going through my spiritual awakening, just figuring shit out day by day. And, I was jobless and was just looking for a direction to go in. And I had gotten that with a tarot reading with one of my mentors. She had mentioned my spirit pushed me towards looking into energy healing, which I'm going to talk about in the next video in great depth. But around this time, I had stumbled upon either an article or a video. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember exactly how I came across it, but it mentioned the concept of what a light worker is. I'd never heard this term before. I just did a little research prior to this video just to give you guys some context, and it is a term that originated in the 1980s that was born out of what's known as the New Age spiritual movement, which has a lot of foundational elements of the stuff that I'm actually about. The New Age spiritual movement was developed in the 1970s in the West, and it was kind of like an anti-religious movement that embraced a lot of things that traditional religion kind of had frowned upon or persecuted people for back in the day. So this term started being thrown around, and it was just kind of an underground thing apparently. And then it really started to catch fire in the early 2010s. One of the people that I have studied to learn more about this term light worker, her name is Dolores Cannon, and unfortunately she passed away 10 years ago in 2014. But before that, she wrote, 24 books and recorded just a treasure trove of video content talking about all this and her beliefs and kind of what she had uncovered in her long life related to this and many other spiritual topics. And she's pretty revered kind of in the spiritual community as being way ahead of her time. So light worker, what is that? Light worker is really someone that has found that they have a spiritually intuitive calling to use their special gifts, which vary, to do what they can in service to the world and to uplift the collective consciousness of the world. Sounds like a lot, but this is what I needed to hear at the time, because I mentioned in many previous videos, I've always just really felt called to help people, and I've just done that like intuitively. Like throughout my years, people needed favors, or I just did solids for people at work or in school or friends or whatever. It's just always like a giving ass person and never asked for anything in return. It was just do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And for sure, I was not always this positive. I went through a phase of a lot of pessimism earlier in my life, but I was able to climb out of that. And in the past 10 years or so, I just kind of reframed how I looked at the world gradually. It wasn't like an overnight shift, but I just began to be more positive and kind of not get caught up in as much as the negativity and the pessimism and the sky is falling and all this shit, and not worry about so much of the shit that really is just not important. So when I started reading into this lightworker thing, I was like, okay, well, that's cool. And at this point, I didn't think I was one. But shortly after there, I joined the Awake Healing Energy Healing Academy, which I'm going to talk about next episode. And as part of that curriculum, they were like very heavy into that. And it's not something that they like preached or anything. It was just like kind of like a thing that it was part of it. It was like, oh yeah, you're probably a light worker. And I was like, okay. And then I started studying more and more, and this really started to resonate kind of within my soul. And I was like, this kind of feels like it fits. Like maybe this will give me some direction. And there are other names for light workers. There are kind of varieties of them. Some people call them indigos. Some people call them star seeds. Others call them earth angels. All pretty interesting names. But over the course of the past 5 or 6 months since I discovered this term, and I've walked through a crazy journey of self-reflection and growth and spiritual development, I sit here today on June 11th, 2024, and I'm absolutely certain that I am a light worker. And I embrace that. And it doesn't mean that I'm better than you or anyone else. It just means that I have been put on a different path with a specific purpose. And it feels good to kind of know that, you know, there's something that I'm able to bring to this planet more than just my regular existence. So light workers come in many different varieties. There are some people have categorized them into different kind of areas where their expertise can be helpful to the world. A large majority of them are known as healers, which is what I'm studying. And then many others are guides for either just non-spiritual people to kind of like get them to understand a little better. And then there are specific guides for light workers that kind of help walk them through the more complicated processes that we need to go through, because we need to do a significant amount of healing from traumas and understanding the nuances and laws of the universe to be able to use them in our favor to accomplish the goals that were set out for us here on this earth. And then many others have kind of different kind of callings. They have callings in the arts. Like I have light worker friends that are artists that create music, authors. So there's a variety of people, psychics, visionaries, prophets, tarot readers. They come in a lot of shapes and sizes, so there's not one size fits all. And again, I'm a part of several communities of light workers. I've met probably dozens of them by now, and when we're in these communities, they're typically for specific purposes, really just kind of like self-improvement and self-growth. But we don't sit around at meetings, and even no one really mentions the name light worker. It's just really implied. Like everyone is on their own kind of individual journey, but we're coming together and kind of bonding over a shared purpose that when we can kind of get ourselves right and get ourselves pointed in the right direction, that we're going to be able to do a lot of good for other people. And the way that the world has been trending over, you know, the past few decades, you can't say that we don't need kind of miraculous help at this point to turn things around, because just look at our leaders and look at capitalism and how religion and the education systems and everything is failing us. And then you have climate change, and you know, the medical situation is awful, and just people are down, morale is down, you know. So this is all going on in the background. We are building communities, people like myself who have been awakened. There have been many people that have been awakened long before me that have been on longer, harder journeys. But we are out here trying to figure out kind of our journeys to be ready to use the gifts that have been provided to us in order to really make a difference and start to turn the world around. So yeah, can seem maybe delusional to someone hearing this from the outside in, but I don't think this video is for those people. I'm not meant to teach or preach or to anybody. I've been called to share my testimony, and mainly so that it resonates with other people that are walking a similar path to me. So I came to kind of a realization this morning about this, because I've been struggling a bit to accept the path that's been put in front of me. I've been called to kind of use my talents and gifts in kind of a counseling and mentorship role. And when I came up, I was like, yeah, that kind of fits, because I've been like pretty good at giving people like life advice in the past. And I just have a knack for kind of saying the right thing in the right time to people when they need to hear it. So I was like, yeah, that kind of fits, but I'm not sure, because self-doubt creeps in for all of us, regardless if you're a light worker or not, when you're kind of asked to do something out of your comfort zone. And immediately my mind went to, like, if I were to counsel, like I've been called to counsel young men, young adult men specifically, not kids. So I think if you've grown to a certain age and have a bit of life experience, you'll understand kind of the things that I've went through a little more closely, and I can kind of relate to you better. But the thought that came through my mind, especially as I sit here right now, in the middle of my journey, where, you know, everything in the human sense has kind of fallen flat on me. You know, I'm out of a job, I don't have much money, don't have a stable place to stay, don't have a vehicle, don't have many friends anymore, I don't have a companion. I'm missing so much in my life that you would think like a stable person would be celebrated for. And if I were to go into like counseling or mentorship and talk to anybody, be like, why would that person like even want to hear what you have to say? Because look at where you're at. Like, no one would want to strive to be where I'm at right now. I'm at a low point. Rationally, logically, I feel great spiritually, and in my personal development, I really feel the difference, specifically in the last half year or so. I feel like I'm a much better, more balanced individual, and I feel like my best days are in front of me for sure. But there's always that doubt that people will see, you know, the material possessions, the accomplishments, your current standing in society, and hold that against you. But I had a revelation this morning that it's not really about that. With the things that I have to share, I have so much life experience in overcoming adversity and dealing with demons that a lot of people still deal with to this day, that they have no idea kind of which direction to go. Primarily mental health issues, dealing with suicidal tendencies, dealing with autism spectrum disorder, low self-esteem, low self-worth, confidence issues. All these things I've struggled with for a large part of my life, and I've been gradually able to overcome a lot of them, and I've really accumulated some profound life experiences that I think, if shared, could really help some people out. So I'm trying to figure out how to take the next steps into moving into this area, at least partially, other than just sharing my content here on YouTube. So I'm going to take a little more self-reflection, and I know that the path will unfold in front of me when the time is right. But as of now, we're going to cut this short. So yeah, that's Lightworkers. It's a term that I came into, that I strongly resonate with now, that I'd never heard of. Some people could think it sounds pretentious, like, oh, you're here to save the world, but it's not even like that. It's just, I'm doing my part for what I feel is right. I'm very guided by intuition, and I'm taking some courageous leaps of faith in my life, because I'm doing what I know to be right, and time will tell whether this pays off in the way that it's been kind of laid out for me. But I'm confident, I have faith, and I feel like I'm doing the right things now, and I'm moving forward in a positive direction, and that's all that really matters. So we're not stagnating, and we're not moving backwards. So every little baby step forward is progress, and I think that's where I'll leave it. So thank you as always for checking out the content. Hopefully, it did something for you today, and hopefully come back for the next one. Peace, love, and light.